A lot of people were enchanted by her talent, her kindness, and her smile, which looked like sunshine on screen. Hayden Panettiere had a career that defined a generation of TV stars, from her early days as a child actress to her unforgettable part as Juliet Barnes on Nashville. But there was a story behind the scenes that was much more complex than any script she had ever read. The world was shocked, sad, and full of questions when she died on the 16th of August, 2026, at the age of 36. Now, in a statement that has moved everyone, her estranged mother Leslie Vogel has finally spoken out. This is Hayden Panettiere's story. She was raised by her mother and then lost her. After her daughter's death, Leslie Vogel spoke out in public for the first time in decades. The words she picked were heavy. As Vogel told NBC News, Hayden was incredibly talented in many areas. She also said that young people who grow up in the entertainment business have a hard time, and it's not uncommon for them to end up going in the wrong direction. In addition, she said she thought Hayden had lost her way and was very sorry that things had not gone as planned. Those words, spoken through tears, showed something much deeper than a mother dealing with grief in real time. Leslie Vogel, who is now 70 years old, had not seen Hayden in years before her daughter died. Vogel, who used to be an actress on a soap opera, had been Panettiere's manager from the start of her career and made business and money choices for her daughter while she was a child. Hayden had that professional relationship from the time she was a child until she was a teenager. It shaped not only her career path but also their relationship as mother and daughter. Hayden was signed with the modeling agency Wilhelmina Models by her. At 8 months old, he started a career machine that would keep going for almost 20 years. Hayden was taking part in the ABC soap opera One Life to Live by 4. She joined Guiding Light by 6. By age 11, she was said to have been in more than 50 commercials and was making most of her family's money. These were big accomplishments for a kid who wasn't even in middle school yet, but they came with a cost that wouldn't become clear for a long time. Hayden talked about what that way of growing up had done to her. She said she felt like a little fighter because she was taught to do what she was told. Remember the lines, hit her marks and never say no. Their friendship reached its lowest point while Hayden was on the NBC show Heroes. Panettiere talked about firing Vogel because of their mama-manager relationship on the Jay Shetty podcast to promote her book. She said she told Vogel she didn't want to work with her longer and just wanted her to be her mom. Hayden will remember Vogel's answer as 2 words that would never leave her mind. You need to pay me back. After they didn't say anything else, she left the trailer, and they never talked to each other again. In her autobiography, Panettiere wrote that her mother was a perfectionist, and that Vogel superglued a missing tooth back into Panettiere's mouth so that she wouldn't lose her job. She also said that her mother forced her to dress in girlier clothes instead of her preferred tomboy style. The memoir called This Is Me was a reckoning, because it had so many specific and deeply personal details. When such a controversial document came out in May 2026, just 3 months before Hayden's death, it made a mother and daughter who had stopped talking to each other face the truth in public. Vogel told Page 6 that after 20 years of trauma, she did what professionals told her to do, and chose the no-contact way. She said that no parent wants to see their child go down destructive paths, and you can't save someone who doesn't want to be saved. Vogel had also lost her son Jansen to heart problems in 2023. She told NBC through tears that she thinks Hayden is with her brother and that they are both at peace. That quiet sentence showed how bad things had been for this mother. 2 kids who died too soon. A family split up by pain, fame, and old wounds that never got better. While everyone was sad about Hayden Panettiere's death, Leslie Vogel's first public words were not just a way to show her grief. They were the long-awaited ending to a story that began when an 8-month-old girl was given to a business that would never let her go. There was a lot more to this picture than just the mother's silence, though. And to really understand what Leslie Vogel was talking about, you need to know about Hayden's amazing success and the hidden price it cost her. Hold on until the end. The job that made her famous to everyone. Hayden Panettiere didn't rise slowly through Hollywood. It never stopped. She had already been in more than 50 commercials by the time most kids were figuring out their friendships and school plays. For her voice work on A Bug's Life in 1998, she was nominated for a Grammy for Best Spoken Word Album for Children, making her one of the youngest nominees in that category at the time. From 2006 to 2010, she played Claire Bennett on the NBC superhero show Heroes. From 2011 to 2023, she played Kirby Reed in the Scream movies, and from 2012 to 2018, she played Juliet Barnes on the ABC and CMT singing drama shows Nashville. Each of those roles came at a different time in her life and began a new part of her public life. Heroes is where Hayden first became a big star. Claire Bennett, a cheerleader with healing powers that can grow back, was a big part of the first season's story. Hayden quickly became one of the most famous young actors in the country. The 4-season show gave her a chance to be seen around the world that she had never had before. Even though she had been working for decades, people reacted to her warmth and emotional honesty in ways that had nothing to do with the supernatural. However, Nashville was the most important work of her adult life. Her performance as Juliet Barnes got her 2 nominations for the Golden Globe Award for Best Supporting Actress in a TV movie, miniseries, or the main show. Over the course of 6 seasons, she played a country music star who was both unstable and very human. The character dealt with fame, confusing relationships, and personal collapse. In hindsight, it's hard to deny the irony of that role. Everyone thought Juliette Barnes had everything, but she still couldn't find peace in any of it. Hayden Panettiere knew that character inside and out, as he told Jay Machete on an episode of his show in May 2026. It cost them a normal childhood to do those things when they were young. And by the time she was 11, she had already been in Remember the Titans with Denzel Washington, which changed how her teachers and classmates treated her. That feeling of being on the edge, of not being fully a child nor fully an adult, followed her through her career and shaped the private struggles she would later talk about in a very honest way. After 6 seasons, Nashville came to an end in 2018. According to Hayden, that ending was the end of an era and the start of the worst time in her life. The actress got more and more hooked on drugs and alcohol after the show stopped. She said she wanted to do everything she wasn't supposed to do and that acting had been her whole life. But she didn't trust herself anymore because she felt so bad about herself. Losing the show happened at the same time as a custody deal that kept her from seeing her young daughter. This made her grief even worse, and it took her years to get over it. In her book and on her 2026 press tour, Hayden wrote about a woman who had finally turned a corner. She told Shetty that she had gotten rid of the bad vibes and darkness, that one door had closed and another had opened, that she could feel all the possibilities ahead, and that she thought she had a lot more life to live. What she said just a few weeks before she died on the 16th of August 2026 summed up the terrible irony of what happened next. The job that made her famous also made everything she struggled with worse, and she was never fully free from that battle. Watch out. Who her mother blamed and the pain that came from it. The romance between Hayden Panettiere and Brian Hickerson, which happened on and off, got the most attention in her later years. Of all the things Leslie Vogel said in public, what she said about him was the most angry. Vogel told NBC News that the person they had been trying to get rid of from Hayden's life for a long time was with her when she died. Brian Hickerson was that person. There was no doubt about what those words meant. They were measured and direct. Panettiere met Hickerson, who wanted to be an actor and a real estate agent, through her brother in 2018. At the time, Panettiere had just ended a long relationship with heavyweight boxing winner Vladimir Klitschko. That time is important. She had just broken off a long-term engagement, given Klitschko day-to-day custody of her daughter Kaya in Ukraine, and seen the end of her most famous TV role. When Hickerson came into her life, she was in a weak and loose position by any measure. After that, they started dating, and very quickly, it became public information and had serious legal consequences. Los Angeles County court records show that Hickerson was arrested in May 2019 on suspicion of hurting a spouse or girlfriend. He pled not guilty in April 2021 and was given a sentence of 45 days in jail and 4 years of formal probation. In 2021, Hayden talked about the abuse in public. She wrote on Instagram that she was telling her story so that other people who were in abusive situations would be inspired to get the help they needed. She wrote in her autobiography that Hickerson beat her so badly one night that she didn't leave the house for weeks. She didn't tell the police about the abuse right away because she didn't want other people to know. One of the most shocking things about the book was how that hesitation was caused by the kind of attention that comes with having a famous face. No, she wasn't just dealing with the pain of being abused. The whole country was watching her every move as she ran it. In a May 2026 episode of Jay Shetty's On Purpose podcast, Hayden talked about how they would be dancing and joking around together, and then all of a sudden, a switch would be flipped, and everything would change. She said that the cycle of love and violence shaped and trapped the whole relationship. Her story of that cycle was a painfully honest look at how abuse works and why it doesn't always end with a clean slate. It was confirmed that Panettiere and Hickerson traveled from Los Angeles to South Carolina the day before she died. That fact, more than almost anything else that came to light in the days after she died, made everything her family had been afraid of clear. She wasn't completely free yet. She was found unconscious by a friend at the Judson Mill Lofts apartment in Greenville, South Carolina, in the afternoon of the 16th of August, 2026. Both Hickerson and his brother Zach were there. According to the police report, Hickerson didn't show any signs of emotion until she was pronounced dead at the scene. He also showed the cops a bag of drugs Hayden was taking when she passed away. At the time this article was written, the cause of death was still being looked into. When first responders came, she was having a cardiac arrest, and no foul play was thought to have happened. Leslie Vogel had a clear point of view, and she thought that Brian Hickerson's continued presence in Hayden's life had been a constant source of danger. She wanted everyone to know that he was there when her daughter died. Behind this relationship and her mother's pain was a wound that had been growing for even longer. Hold on until the end. Jansen's Death, the biography, and the last words of a mother. To fully understand what Leslie Vogel meant when she said that in August 2026, you need to know what she and Hayden had been through in the years before that. Renee Jansen Panettiere was born on the 25th of September, 1994, in Palisades, New York. She died on the 19th of February, 2023, in Neek, New York, at the age of 28 from cardio, a swollen heart, and problems with her aortic valve. Hayden had only one brother or sister. He was an actress who had been in many movies and TV shows, and she called him the other half of her soul. She told People magazine that Jansen was her only sibling and that it was her job to look out for him. Hayden said that she felt like she lost half of her life when she lost him. His death came just as Hayden was beginning to rebuild her life in a serious way. She was clean, working, and getting ready for what seemed like a real start to a new life. After Jansen died, her body reacted to her sadness in ways she couldn't control. During the weeks after he died, she put on about 40 pounds, got agoraphobia, and said she couldn't leave her house. The emotional weight of losing him completely changed her recovery schedule and sent her back into a very dark time. She slowly got better by going for long walks and sticking to the same habits that had always kept her on track. The pain never went away, though. She held public events for every birthday he should have lived to see and every anniversary of his death, in words that made it clear that she lived with this loss every day. Through tears, Vogel told NBC that she thinks Hayden is with her brother and that they are happy. That opinion, said quietly and with clear grief, was the most touching part of an otherwise harsh speech. It was the voice of a mother who had lost both of her children and was looking for relief in the only way that was still open. When Hayden and Leslie Vogel's memoir This Is Me, A Reckoning came out in May 2026, it made them face their shared past in public. Hayden wrote in great detail about the emotional and professional pressures she faced as a child, which shocked many readers. She said she felt groomed instead of guided and managed instead of loved. When the book came, Vogel strongly pushed back, saying that her own experience had been traumatic for 20 years, and that she had decided not to contact on the advice of mental health professionals. Hayden had told reporters over and over that she still wanted to get along with her mother. She said she had left the door open, but she thought her mom had shut it. Vogel said that the decision to not contact him was made to protect her own life. Two stories about the same relationship told from different sides of the same wound, and the problem wasn't solved before time ran out. Skip Panettiere, Hayden's father, released a statement announcing her death. He called her an incredible light and a force of nature who brought unimaginable love and joy to everyone who knew her and to millions of people who watched her on TV. The more difficult statement from Leslie Vogel, on the other hand, was in contrast to his warm and sad words. She spoke of loss while also clearly wanting to give meaning and responsibility to what had happened. Leslie Vogel did not end her speech without being kind. She said that Hayden had a lot of amazing qualities. She said she wished things were different. She said she wished Hayden had been herself. She told him through tears that she thought Hayden and Jansen were now together and happy. As time went on, those words were the only thing that came close to making things right. There wasn't a talk, a get-together, or the phone call that never came. It was just a mother trying to say to reporters what she couldn't say to her daughter because she was so sad. The story of Hayden Panettiere is more than just that of a kid star who got lost. That story will be told a lot, though. It's about a woman who was put to work in a field before she knew how to do what she was being asked to do, who carried that weight through decades of amazing accomplishments and spent her last years trying to say it all in a public and honest way. That was the goal of the book. The podcast appearances were an attempt to do that. In a sad way, even the hard and painful choice to stay close to someone who had hurt her was an attempt to find something warm and familiar in a life that had never really felt like her own. What's left is the work, the shows that millions of people still remember. This is the voice that made Juliet Barnes come to life for 6 amazing seasons. The woman who sat next to Jay Shetty a few weeks before she died and said she could feel all the possibilities opening up around her. That's the Hayden Panettiere that the world should hold on to in the end. Not the tragedy, but the huge amount of ability and the unique, complicated, and irreplaceable person who was behind it all. Thanks for seeing. Please like, follow, and share this video with someone who needs to hear this story. Who do you think Hayden Panettiere should be remembered for? Tell us in the comments.